Hi there, my name is Hope Juneville. I'm the LGBTQ plus project lead with the Edmonton Federation of Communities, and this is part 4 of the Identity Education series. This part will address the identities of Two-Spirit and Pansexual. Well, this video will explore two different identities. They are not related, but they are generally misunderstood, these being Two-Spirit and Pansexual. While someone who is Two-Spirit can be pansexual and vice versa, they're not inherently connected. However, as Julia mentioned, they are often misunderstood and neglected entirely. So the aim of this video is to clarify and educate on these two identities and show how they fit into the larger LGBTQ plus community and acronym. The 2S in the LGBTQ plus acronym stands for Two-Spirit, and the P in the LGBTQ plus acronym stands for Pansexual. Let's talk about these identities. Generally, first thing we need to talk about, though, is the LGBTQ plus acronym. The most common forms are LGBT or LGBTQ. However, in recent years, it's expanded to become much longer and to validate other queer identities. Two of these identities are the previously mentioned Two-Spirit, 2S, and Pansexual, P. Now to talk about these identities. Two-Spirit refers to a term used by some Indigenous people that describes their sexual, gender, and or spiritual identity. It can refer to a person who identifies as having both a masculine and feminine spirit. Two-Spirit is an umbrella term and encompasses same-sex attraction and a variety of gender differences and identities. Pansexual refers to a person whose experiences of romantic and or sexual attraction are not limited by a person's sex or gender identity, but rather connected to personal attributes like intelligence, personality, and perceived physical attractiveness. Now, things to know about these different identities. For Two-Spirit, a cultural context is important to understand. Two-Spirit's identity is uniquely connected to the Indigenous community and Indigenous peoples. It is in a way an acknowledgement of the queer identities that have existed among Indigenous people and Indigenous cultures before colonization and culture genocide by Europeans attempted to assimilate the Indigenous peoples. As such, it has cultural significance and covers a multitude of resurgent identities based around queerness. It can be acknowledgement of a person's Indigenous culture and history, as well as their queerness. It is also not used by all, though. With the term Two-Spirit, it is important to understand that some do not identify with this term and has not been adopted by all. They may use different cultural terms, or they may use previous identities, such as gay, straight, trans. Two-Spirit is not an offensive term, and it is used as an umbrella term. However, if someone does not identify it and specifically says so, or asks you not to refer to them as such, please respect that. For things to know about bisexual, the first thing to talk about is the difference between bisexual and pansexual. They are generally pretty similar identities, and cover roughly what can be considered the same type of attractions. First thing to understand, though, is that the existence of bisexual and bisexuality does not invalidate the existence of pansexual or pansexuality. The issue that exists between the two identities stems in many ways from how each may be defined. Bisexuality historically has been considered to refer to someone who experiences romantic and or sexual attraction towards both men and women, specifically cisgender men and women. With this definition, people who are non-binary or gender minorities are neglected or left out. Pansexuality's definition then starts to be more inclusive and cover attraction to non-binary and trans folk. However, bisexuality is defined as attraction not limited by one gender, and this opens it up to being more inclusive and to cover attraction to people who may be non-binary and trans. However, doing this seems to make it more confusing. The thing to understand about bisexuality and pansexuality is that they're both valid labels no matter how they are defined. How someone chooses to be labeled themselves, how they feel is up to them. Some find bisexuality the better descriptor of their sexuality, some find pansexuality. What's important is to accept these identities. The final thing to talk about this is relation to the gender binary. Pansexuality has a strong connection to the gender binary as a gender that specifically pushes back against it. The gender binary is the idea that there are only two genders, those being man and woman. It also denies the experience and the presence of trans and non-binary folk. Pansexuality revolves around the idea that gender does not matter, as more importantly, gender is not the determining factor of attraction. It also covers attraction towards trans and non-binary folk and acknowledges their presence. I hope this video has been informative and may clarify some lacks of knowledge or misunderstandings towards the identities of two-spirit and pansexual. Hope you have a wonderful day.